the early days of working in a kitchen, it was so many tears. It was so difficult and so emotionally taxing. But there was a bigger picture, and that was to do this for myself.
We love at Dirty Linen to shine a light on new talent coming through in the hospitality industry, and that's what today is all about. Our guest is Chef Edie Swanson. Edie is a recently qualified apprentice. She is working at Bar Liberty in Melbourne, and I'm thrilled to have her on the show. Edie, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It's so great to have you on the show. So I became aware of you when your boss, Zachary First at Bar Liberty, posted about your qualification. And he said it was a proud kitchen dad moment. Pass on his congratulations to you on completing your apprenticeship. He said you're an absolute powerhouse and a crucial element to the Bar Liberty kitchen. So good on you. And I also extend my congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's definitely such a big thing. It's been a long time in the works, and longer because of COVID as well. So I'm so happy to be where I am now. It's a big thing. Thank you.
Oh, well done. Tell us about your path. What took you into this work?
I actually. It's probably a fairly different path to a lot of other apprentices. I'm actually quite a bit older than everyone I went to TAFE with. I had no interest in being chef. In high school, I never would have. I never considered it. My mum was a chef, and I never saw that for myself. And she also didn't encourage it at all. She sort of advised that I'd seek out different work that would allow me to have a bit more balance. And so I went to uni for nearly 5 years. In the meantime, I worked in hospitality, and I just had this growing love for it. I was working front of house and back of house, and I couldn't really make sense of why, what was going on, and why I had this passion for hospitality and not for my studies. And came to a point where I must have been at 23 or something like that. And I sort of said, really, I can't see myself working behind a desk, doing paperwork, reading. I need to use my hands. And, if that means making my life a little bit more difficult, then it could be if I just pursued what I'd been doing. Then I'm up for it. I can't. A challenge is fine. I just, I need that satisfaction of creating and using my hands. So I eventually did pursue cooking and staying in hospitality.
Wow. Well, Edie, I can really relate to that because I also studied law and felt that I was like, who am I? This is really not me. And I just couldn't go on with it. So yeah, I really can relate. I mean, was that a big thing in your family? You said your mum hadn't really encouraged you to work in restaurants.
My parents, I'm so lucky to have had parents that they were never going to put too much pressure on me pursuing, something overly academic. It was a bit shock horror to them that they'd even had a daughter that went to university. They had both they were both, my dad was a builder and mum was a chef. So the idea that I'd finished year 12 and went to uni was just pretty profound to them. And mum has my, I finished with a Bachelor of Criminology, and mum has that framed in her office, and so that means so much to her, and it means really nothing to me. But I'm so happy that she can have that there and be proud of that.
I love that. That's so beautiful. So you were working in restaurants already while you were studying, but how did it come about that you commenced an apprenticeship?
So I was in. It was a particular cafe that was sort of became my life really. I cut down my uni hours. I did just part time at uni so that I could work full time at this cafe. I had a really wonderful relationship with my boss, and I worked with some really incredible guns in the hospitality realms, in baristas in particular. And so that was when I got into sort of making coffee, that was one way that I was using my hands and fine tuning these skills. And um, and then I couldn't eat coffee. I don't like it that much. I love coffee, but not that much. So I wanted more, and I was, I spent most of my days at that point next to a colleague on the coffee machine who was really ambitious, a super ambitious and driven um, chick, and um, she was starting up Le Cordon Bleu, and she was just had her mind set on doing the best she possibly could. And she said, "You need to do the same. You've that's what you're here for." And she really inspired me quite a bit to just wrap up the uni and start something else.
Wow. What you just it's I love these turning points in life. Just really, yeah, you just never know like how important you can be in someone else's path. I love it. So, did you sign up at Cordon Bleu?
No, I didn't. I didn't. Um, I started by finding a restaurant that would take me on, um, and when I found, I started at Miznon. So um, I first found that, and then we went into the formalities of things. Found the apprenticeship company, and started schooling. And I just did my trade school based on what was closest to me and convenient. And yeah,
And so where did that end up being?
William Anglis.
Fantastic. And
Yeah.
yeah, so interesting that you're at Miznon. Did you overlap with Rupal at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Great. So, anyone who hasn't listened to our Dirty Linen chat with Rupal Batikaf, who is now at Nomad but also trained at Miznon, please catch up with that. It's another great story of, a female chef who had a really interesting and circuitous pathway into food. She had a whole like career and traveled with her work before she committed to being a chef. It's she's such a great person. So yeah, really interesting. Miznon, it just really comes through. Hey, Edie.
Oh, it does. It does. I couldn't speak more highly of Miznon. It's such a wonderful place. It's a bit crazy, but where isn't?
For people who don't know Miznon, explain the restaurant and tell us about your experience there.
So it was founded by an Israeli guy. I can't.
A.L. Shani.
Eyal Shani, that's it. That's the one. And it's not Israeli food per se. He takes more of a Mediterranean approach, but he's got the Israeli heart. It's at the core of everything. Everything tahini and chili, and it's simple. It takes the approach of just really simple food and appreciating the entire vegetable. The signature is a whole roasted cauliflower, and it's thrown into a stone-fired oven at 300 degrees and blackened and charred, and just these flavors that you can't really create any other way. It's amazing. So yeah, my experience at Miznon was piling away hundreds of cauliflowers every day, and um, giant what's that blanching pot thing called? I can't remember. um, just the Brad pan. The Brad pan was my little station for so long, and Miznon really was such a lovely kitchen. I think, it was a great place in giving people opportunities, and I think, yeah. So me and RuPaul and I were quite similar in some ways, in that we really had such a passion, and Miznon was just the best sort of stepping stone to getting into the food industry. It was into working in restaurants. Yeah.
I love to hear that. And I mean, your formal education at William Angliss, like, can you talk about that? You know, how much did it help you with the practical side of things? Did it feel relevant? I mean, you know, how do you think that sort of ties into the realities of working in hospitality?
Oh, that's a funny one, because I could really just trash it. I could just sort of say, and I do on a daily, on that one weekday that I would be going into school. It's just, we'd get in here and we'd just go, oh, this is just useless. This is just hopeless. Let's go have a sake on our work break, or on our lunch break. But in the grand scheme of things, there will be William Angliss. They taught based on a fairly traditional French framework, and my current job now, Bar Liberty, also does to quite an extent, and so there has been quite a bit of usefulness to my school education, as much as I wanted to be that kid that just whined and didn't want to go to school.
That's so interesting. So do you think almost that they could have made it seem more relevant just by framing it differently, that it's not necessarily an issue with the curriculum, but more how it's presented to students?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is to do with us. I think we work full time. We work such demanding hours, and then we have this one day where we go into class and we learn how to, wash our hands to begin with, and then go on to such things like dietaries. But half of the class is asleep. It's really, it's really difficult to shift from our work environment to a school setting like that. So I think that is predominantly the one thing that that does make it difficult. And that is one thing that I had discussed with classmates, that potentially a different approach and a learning style that catered to more what we were working with would potentially be more suitable. But yeah.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? So it's almost like they needed to have the rhythm of a restaurant to keep people who are working within the rhythm of a restaurant, to keep those people engaged.
Yeah, definitely, to some degree. Yeah, I mean, it was. I think it was just something that we had to do, and I'm not sure. I can't comment on them needing to make changes, because also they are accommodating to such a wide variety of students, and a lot of them aren't apprentices as well. So, so they got to fit, fit a lot of students' different needs, and I think they're potentially doing the best they can and working on it. But yeah, to get us enthusiastic about school, I don't know what could be done.
This episode is proudly supported by Montague Plums, handpicked for you.
The things that we're really looking for in plums, first of all, they've got to be sweet. We're really looking for a full flavour explosion in our plums. Red flesh is critically important to us, higher in antioxidants, so all that good stuff. And then we're also looking to add a slightly firmer texture, so there's almost a little crunch. That's the real driver for us.
For more information, go to montague.com.au. So tell us what happened. Where did you move to from Miznon, Edie?
So from there, I stuck out the lockdowns at Miznon. We adapted and had these, did our, we're on the takeaway front, and after that, it was a huge burnout for everyone. It was so taxing, and I decided I needed a fresh start. So Zach at Bar Liberty was looking for a new apprentice, and I thought, right, let's just throw myself into that and see how that goes.
And how did it go?
It's been really brilliant. It's been difficult. There's I've it's been the fastest pace of having to learn and develop my skills. And as a result, of course, the first couple of months were really, really difficult. But now I have these skills that I wouldn't really, I couldn't imagine to have had just qualifying only recently. So it has been really brilliant and rewarding and satisfying.
That's really good to hear. So for people who don't know Bar Liberty, do you want to just explain what kind of place it is?
Yeah, sure. So it's a wine bar first and foremost, and we have a relatively small sort of casual modern Australian fine dining menu that we try and sort of pair to the wine. And so I'd explained it's just the modern Australian sort of fine dining, and food to be drunk with beautiful wine, and it's a real experience in terms of Zach's super creative in his fermenting and vinegars, and it's really opened up a different world in terms of um, what what can be done to food through fermentation and time, and what that looks like on a beautiful plate. So yeah, it's good, it's a great spot for an experience.
Yeah, well, I certainly do love it as a diner and a drinker, and really appreciate the wine knowledge, like certainly been introduced to really beautiful new wines there, and love the sort of small plate approach to the food, like really nice to share, lots of really, I guess, big but well-balanced flavours. Really definitely a favourite spot in the inner north in Melbourne. So Edie, I mean, you mentioned that it was a real learning curve for you in terms of the food. Like, can you sort of talk through some of the, whether it's skills or techniques that you were able to develop just because of what Zach's doing in the kitchen there?
Yeah, I mean, the it was a matter of I began, my knife skills had been initiated at Miznon, and they were really thrown into the deep end at Bar Liberty. My first couple of dishes, we had this beautiful soft cheese dish that we put on an almond puree, and we had julienne sautéed leeks on the top. So just julienning julienning leeks to Zach's expectations every day for however many hours was, that was really new to me. That was so that sort of thing. There were a lot of new methods coming. A lot of new methods to me. We work on a beautiful sort of barbecue. It doubles as a smoker, and so there are a lot of new techniques for me to wrap my head around. And I think just Miznon, we have it's a large team that works all together to chip away at our prep list. And Bar Liberty, you're one person on the section, and you've got a list the same size as the Miznon prep list. It was really a challenge in terms of time management and what you had, prioritizing, and it took. I think it was more so the organizational and time management that that was more of a challenge, and had to develop quite quickly.
And what's the teaching style there? Like, was it mostly sort of working with Zach or with other chefs in the kitchen? And how did you learn how to do those tasks and the time management?
It it is often, yes, predominantly Zach. We have it's a really small team, so there's Zach. There's a brilliant sous chef, Ryan, and a junior sous chef, Sam. And then there's a couple of apprentices. So, yeah, just me, or sorry, not me anymore, just a few others or one other or two. But so Zach, Ryan, and Sam, they are super knowledgeable and passionate, and they all have sort of different methods, techniques, and from that, you pave your own way, I guess. Yeah, so Zach, one thing that Zach would do quite a bit when I was first beginning is we have on Sundays we have a set menu lunch that changes every week. So he would give myself and the other apprentice a dish that we had to sort of plan the execution and decide, what would we be cooking, and that was one way to that really just sort of it was brilliant. It sparked our creativity, and we realized, I guess, even as apprentices, that we've got things going on in our brain. I don't know, we've got something to give the kitchen. So and then it puts you in a position where you want to be. I would go home on my day off and just sort of be pulling together these ideas and practicing things at home, and it was so exciting. It was such a brilliant way to teach.
Oh, I love that. So, yeah, it just really would spark that creativity. Can you remember any of the dishes that you did on those Sundays?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first one I did was like what was it? A besan flour type pancake thing. I was not crazy about it. It was I wouldn't say it was a flop, but it's not something you can just whip up one Sunday morning. That's one thing that might need a little bit more, time to play around with. But that's the thing about Sundays. You just if you're lucky, you have a bit of time on Saturday, but you most likely are only just going to have a few hours to try and pull something together. So, I mean, it's lucky to have, you're lucky to have Zach and Ryan there to guide you along and bail you out sometimes.
Love it. So good. I mean, it sounds like a supportive, like busy and I guess pressured, but also a very supportive environment in that kitchen.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. Definitely.
So Edie, what now, and what now that you're qualified?
Now that I'm qualified, I'm about to fly off to Mexico and eat lots of tacos. So
Awesome.
that'd be great. That's pretty much all I can see at the moment. I actually have decided that when I get back, I might try and I'm going to stay at Bar Liberty for a little bit, but I'm going to try and get a little bit more rest into my everyday routine by just reducing one day in the kitchen and actually starting to do some disability support work. And I feel sort of, I guess, compelled to do that because it's I need a bit more socialization. And I don't know, there's I guess my heart is so in the kitchen, but it's in so many other things as well. So, I want to learn a new skill and just give myself a little bit more evenings at home with the dog and things like that.
Wow, that's so interesting. Is there a particular reason why disability support work is drawing you?
Well, there's a demand for it now. I have a lot of friends doing the work and telling me these beautiful, rewarding stories. And I've done a little bit of volunteer work in and working with disadvantaged children, and it's some of the best work I've done. I've learnt so much. It's been so rewarding, and I think that's just something that I need to pursue.
Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting that you went into professional kitchen work because you wanted to do something that was sort of meaningful and creative, but there's this other type of work that's also drawing you. I mean, it sort of makes me wonder, is there is this current era or this wave of hospitality work is perspective and balance and, seeing other career opportunities. Do you think that's more part of it these days?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think it's one of the most difficult things as a young person was trying to think of what you would want to be doing forever. And then, you come to learn that people have so many different careers and so many, they go so many different ways. And there is not just going to uni and qualifying and working the one job the rest of your life. I think my job will always have to revolve around food in some way. That's another part of disability support work. If I get to cook someone dinner, if I get to do that, I'm going to be really happy. So I think food is really in the forefront of what I want to do forever. But yeah, there's a lot more that I do want to explore.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, I mean, I can imagine, let's say, restaurateurs or senior chefs listening to this thinking, you sound amazing, you're qualified, you're obviously so passionate, this well-respected chef, Zach First, thinks that you're amazing, and yet you're going to step away from restaurants at least to some degree. I mean, do you think, is there something about the world of hospitality, like, can you see if there were certain changes made that you would devote yourself more to restaurants, or do you think this is just who you are and you just need to explore?
That's definitely a bit of both in that. It's who I am, and I need to explore. I need to learn. I need to work with people, but there are elements to being a chef that I do find super taxing, and that it may not be sustainable, and so there are looking into some other field of work is just a way to bring balance. And if it's only, I might not need that next year. I have been an apprentice for the past couple of years, and the demands of that might be, I might, having now qualified, I might be able to sort of feel like balance comes a little bit more easily, and that chefing, I am just going to give it a go, and I know that it means that I'm not going to be the next one that's asked to be junior sous chef. I'm not going to be there every day. So I know that, and I've considered that, and well, I think what's going to happen is, if that really is important to me, then I'll probably be stepping away from other work and back into the kitchen a bit more. I'll just sort of wait and see, because I do have this ambition and drive, of course, but I've had a lot of health complications, and I'm type 1 diabetic. There's a lot of there's a bit more to balance in my world, and it's a bit hard. It can be really difficult when you're in the kitchen so much.
Yeah, sure. That's so understandable. And I mean, so many people do have to balance, health challenges of various sorts. And I mean, in a way, perhaps at this early stage of your career, to know that you need to prioritise health and well-being, it actually might set you up for a greater longevity in the kitchen. I mean, it might actually work out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really do hope so. Yeah, I think for me it's not it's just, it would just mean a little bit more rest, and a bit more time, a bit more time for other things, and we'll see how it goes, because I do love the kitchen. I'm so invested in it. But yeah.
Amazing. What a great story. And I just love your perspective on, kitchen work, but also life, Edie. It's really fantastic and inspiring. We know that so many apprentices don't end up qualifying, for one reason or another, they fall away from their studies and perhaps their work as well. What would you say to an apprentice who is, questioning things, is unsure whether it's a path for them?
Well, your heart has to be in it. I think that was the only thing that got me to the end. I at the point when I had decided I really will pursue becoming an apprentice, I had just I knew I had to do it properly and well, and to the standard that I could, that would satisfy me, and that sort of meant I went to interviews where there was one chef asked me, well, do you have a boyfriend? And I said no, and he said, oh, good, you don't have time for that. And
whoa.
So at that point I went, yeah, cool, no worries, I'm here to be a chef, so that's all good. And but that's no way to live your life forever. So that was it. I was determined, and I'd been at this place. I'd been at uni, and I'd done other things that people were just. I'd seen their work ethic, seen the way they gunned at their degree, and just had so much motivation, and I couldn't relate to that. I found my heart in food, and if it's not there, then I don't want to say give up, but I want to say you just, your happiness now, even as an apprentice, is paramount. In the long run, I guess, anyway, because I guess the early days of working in a kitchen, it was so many tears. It was so difficult and so emotionally taxing. But there was a bigger picture, and that was to do this for myself, and so.
Yeah, so if you've just got the tears and the anguish but not the sort of bright horizon, then, perhaps it is worth taking stock of whether you're on the right path. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Edie, so wonderful to connect with you, and congratulations once again on everything that you've achieved, and also, sounds like so many more exciting stops along your journey in the future. Eat all the tacos in Mexico. I'm so excited for you. How wonderful. But thanks so much for taking the time to have a chat with us today.
No, pleasure. It was great. Thank you so much.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinenat.deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This